What, you want to learn how to program in C++? Okay, let's do it. I'll be using the dev compiler. This is version 5.5.3. To create a brand new C++ project in the dev compiler, File, New, Project. And I'm going to create a console application to begin with. This being our first lesson in C++, we're going to do the infamous Hello World project. So I'm going to call this the Hello World. Console application, C++ project selected, okay. And the dev compiler does not create a folder in your documents area for all of your projects like some other programs do. We're just going to create our own. So I'm in the documents folder right now, libraries, documents, and I'm going to right click and create a new folder and call it C++ projects. And that's where I'm going to save my Hello World project. And as you see, just by creating a fresh project, you already have some code on the screen. Those of you who have never programmed in another language might already feel overwhelmed. There's a lot of symbols on this page, a lot of stuff. So let's talk about it. We'll break it all down. Starting at the top, this is called a include directive or an include statement. And what this means is that there is a library file called IOStream, and it's an actual file sitting on the computer wherever dev was installed, and that file contains instructions and definitions for functions and terms usable code. And so by including that file, then you have access to all of those definitions and functions. Those of you who may have programmed in C# or Java before, this is similar to the using statements that you see in those languages. Next, this is just a comment. So in your programs, you can write comments just to yourself, and it's good practice to do that so that you can remind yourself what you were doing at that portion of the code, and not only for yourself, but if you're programming in a group or you're working for a company, you need to annotate what it is that you're doing and why in your programs. So the /* is used for multi-line comments. So here I can have line after line of comments, and dev colors that text blue. Just for a single line comment, you can just use two /. Here I'm commenting the name of the file, and I'm the author, and I'm also going to put the date. Okay, next we have the main function. All C++ programs need a main function, or a function titled main, that is the starting point for the program. It's the starting point for execution. In front of that function name, you see int. This stands for integer. So that's exactly what you would think it is from mathematics. Integers are your whole numbers, positive and negative, including 0. And what that is referring to is what's called the return type of the function. So functions return a value back to whatever or wherever they were called. And notice the return statement is already placed there for you. So when this function is done executing, it will actually send the integer 0 back to whatever called it. And since this is our dev compiler, it will send it back to the executable. And you'll see that reflected in the terminal window when we're done with our Hello World program. Okay, following the name of the function, you always have parentheses, open and closed, and inside those parentheses are your formal parameters. These are values that you can pass into a function. So within these open and closed braces, and every function starts with an open brace and ends with a closed bracket, or brace, I'm sorry. And within the confines of these two braces, I can use these named variables. And so we have an integer variable called argc, and then we have a character, and this is actually a pointer variable. That's what those asterisks mean. Pointers are the very last thing that we will learn in the first semester of C++. So don't worry about those right now. We'll talk about those later. But that one is also called ARG with a V at the end. Now these, if you pass a value into them, then you can use these values in your function. We're not going to be passing any values into that main. We're just going to execute it as is, so I won't be using those. The next thing that this program needs in order to run is a using directive of its own. This is a statement that lets the compiler know what namespace to use. So I added this statement using namespace standard. And those of you taking C++ 140 with me, you can see this in the Savage text at page 25. And what that statement is telling us, or telling the compiler, is that any of the definitions that we use within our program, or from this point down, will be interpreted in the standard namespace. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if you wanted to, you could have multiple definitions for keywords, or you could have functions that are contained in completely separate libraries that may do something completely different or entirely different. So we have to tell the compiler, well, I want to use the standard namespace, which is where our IOStream values, that we want to use the standard definitions for all of the terms that we will be using in our program. Next, we will create our very first line of code that will be executed in the main function, and we will start with a word that is defined in that standard namespace, and that word is cout. It's pronounced cout, and what that literally stands for is the output window. So with the output window, I want to put, and these two symbols, the two less than symbols, back to back, is called the insertion operator. This means that what I'm about to type, I want to put to or insert in the terminal window. Okay, instead of using the hackneyed "Hello World" phrase, I'm going to use "The Matrix Has You." I love the Matrix trilogy, as you might have noticed from my background. So a couple of things to note about this statement here. First of all, the double quotes. Anytime you're dealing with a text string, and you may not be familiar with that term string if you haven't programmed before. A string is just a bunch of characters strung together, which is how your compiler or your computer views text. They're just a bunch of characters, one right after the other. So double quote starts any text string or a literal piece of text, and we are outputting it to the terminal window. And then every statement in C++ ends with the semicolon. All that's left to do now is to compile and run this program. Those options in the dev compiler are up here in your toolbar. There's several different options. You can just simply compile a program but not run it. Run it if it's already been compiled at least once, or you can compile and run here, F11, or click this button that looks like a multicolored window. It'll ask you to save the main CPP file that we just created, and I'm going to save it in that projects folder that I just made earlier. And there you have it. We have created our very first C++ program, and it output the matrix has you, our statement, to the terminal window, and then it also has that statement that the program exited and returned a value of 0 back. That concludes our very first lesson in C++. This is Jay Money reminding you to know thyself.